Presidential candidate of the governing All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, spoke at the prestigious Chatham House in London yesterday. Amidst various questions and answers, Tinubu promised to tackle the deteriorating situation of security in the country head-on, so the country can effectively provide security support for its neighboring nations.
Your Excellency, wonderful. The question I wanted to ask, you have touched on briefly. My name, first of all, is Baroness Tinubu Davis Kensington. I'm a Nigerian. You've touched on security, very important issue in Nigeria. But you've not told us how you're going to manage this. We'd like you to tell us how you will manage security in Nigeria. And second part of my question, there's loads of kidnapping of women and girls in Nigeria, rape of our young children in Nigeria. Can you tell us, Your Excellency, how this will be managed? Thank you.
Let me once demonstrate here. One of those philosophers I wanted doctrine that I believe firmly in is teamship, unbreakable team. To demonstrate that, I will choose the first question, assign it to Dele Alake.
Okay.
And the second question, assign to Nasiru El-Rufai.
Security has been a big issue in Nigeria in the last few years, and that has affected not only rural economies, but agricultural production, commerce, and everything else. The Bola Tinubu administration will address these challenges, or whatever remains of it, after the efforts of this administration in at least 3 ways. First, policing. Nigeria has about 300,000 policemen for a population of over 200 million. We need at least twice that number. That will be achieved. That will be achieved by amending the Constitution so that policing can be at federal, state, and even at community levels.
Okay, we're having another round of questions, so I start with the lady there. You, yes?
Boloma Mariam Adewale, Nigerian in diaspora of over 40 years. I know we have remittances over 30 billion remitted to Nigeria from worldwide every year. And I do appreciate that the leaders, they do come every electoral cycle to speak to us in diaspora, but we can't vote. Is there any plans you have, sir, with regards to diaspora voting?
I think it was El-Rufai last night that mentioned that diaspora voters are entitled to voting. If you make contribution to the economy with remittances that you have been making, your right to vote should not be abrogated, but promoted. However, we are still building confidence in our democratic and voting system. INEC is still yet to assure us during this election that electronic transmission, the technology being used for accreditation, and the total vote count is reliable, dependable, and assuring in our democratic process before we introduce a complicated element of mail-in ballots and so on.
Thank you.
My name is Priscilla Winkbo. I'm a freelance broadcast journalist. So you've spoken a great deal about what you've done in Lagos, and yes, we're very aware of it, and you're a team player because you're able to include everybody else, and we appreciate your team here today, and they're very capable, and we can see that they have the capacity and the capability. However, sir, you are running for president, and as Nigerians, we would very much like to hear from you, because we believe the office of the president, if voted in, will be you and not your team per se. So on that note, sir, if I may, we haven't seen you engage with Nigerians on a one-to-one interview or at any of the live programs that has been going on. And furthermore, there are issues at the moment running with regards to your identity, with regards to your age. So I wonder if you could provide some clarity on the issues of your identity and age, and also let us know when we can engage with you one-on-one in an interview, hear from you directly as the office holder. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. It's inquisitive. But at the time of birth, I was dated March 29, 1952, and the family record. I didn't think then, that day, I've determined to be, or decided to be, a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Not even that I will go to politics. I've a very good exposure in life. My record is consistent, and the school and the university, they question, they now convinced that they wasted their money and their time. The record is there, the transcript is there. So in March 1952, I'm not claiming another father. I am Tinubu and Tinubu proper. If they want a DNA, they could as well require for one. One of them has been even accused of not being a Nigerian citizen. I didn't touch that area.
Yes.
Equally, it remains the same. Deloitte, Chicago State University, where I graduated, has attested to that. Now I can announce that I've received my original replacement degree certificate from them. The Deloitte trained me as an accounting firm. Mobile has attested to my record, a standing record. I got to the pinnacle of my career. And the private sector, who among them can brag about that? Now, yes, you want to wrestle with the pig, you got to live with the dirt. That's what I'm doing. I go into politics knowing fully well that it's a muddy water. Smog will come. You will have to live with the dirt and make sure you are upright to finish the job. Thank you. Any part of it that I didn't answer? That
one-to-one conversations.
One-to-one conversation. Excuse me.
Please, be quiet.
Why? I see myself as a marketable individual. Want to use me to make money, and I'm saying no.
Right, we're not being joined now by Arise Chief Correspondent John Cookson, who was live at Chatham House yesterday. John, pleasure to have you. Can you give us a lowdown of what really went on at Chatham House and, as regards questions and delegations and all of that? John?
Hey, good morning, guys. Great to be on the show. You didn't put my question in. I asked him, this question was,
we've had 2 terms of the Buhari administration, of which he's been a key part. And I asked him, given all Nigeria's problems with theft of oil, inflation, what makes him a good candidate to be president, given that he's been involved in the current administration for the last 2 terms. And basically, he rolled back and said, well, I wasn't the president, Buhari was. It was an extraordinary gathering at Chatham House. Chatham House, if viewers don't know, is the holy of think tanks, if you like. And it was once the home of Gladstone and Pitt, British prime ministers. World leaders have spoken there: Mandela, Reagan, Thatcher, Kenneth Kaunda, Gandhi, Ben Gurion. And yesterday we had Bola Tinubu holding court. It was all very theatrical. Now, normally at these Chatham House events, the room is a very staid affair, very solemn. You have academics, lawyers, some journalists asking the leader in question, for example, Hillary Clinton, a few softball questions, and things go fairly smoothly. But this time, Chatham House was absolutely rammed solid with Tinubu supporters who sort of cheered his every applause line. It was most extraordinary. Meanwhile, outside, there were lots of supporters. The police had to be called at one point because things got out of hand as far as the boisterousness went on, but things soon calmed down. So in many ways, it was extraordinary, not least by the fact that you noticed from that clip that you've just played that questions were asked from the audience, but he didn't reply to many of them. He got proxies in the audience, potential members of his new cabinet if he wins the election, to give the answer. So many ways, it was an extraordinary event yesterday.
All right. Now, what's come up from a number of people, the debate online, and from people who watched his lecture and the question and answer session, is that it was quite unusual for someone who was meant to be speaking to the people, as you just mentioned, to delegate responses, at least majority of his responses, to his surrogates who were present there. Is this a usual or an unusual occurrence? Because for the sake of argument, what he said is that it is in the spirit of, in his words, teamship, or perhaps it's team spirit. Is that normal, or is that showing that he's willing, he's a team player, and he's a man as a leader, because leadership is not, by one person, that he's able and willing to delegate to others? Is that normal?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is he's scared of putting his foot in it and giving the wrong answer that might come and bite him on the bum later, so he can blame someone else for saying the wrong thing. I've never seen it. It wasn't a press conference. It was a Chatham House event to which the press were invited, as well as his supporters. And I've never seen that before. There were some other serious points that I did pick up at the event that haven't really been mentioned so far. Worth running through some of the points that he made quite well. And that was that he believed in, he wanted to see no violence at the election, which brought a lot of applause. He said that he saw Nigeria as a beacon of hope to other nations. He discussed many aspects of the environment. He said that gas was the future. He agreed with the findings of the COP conference. He believed in the African Union. He said that he wanted to increase the Nigerian economy by 7%. So in all the sort of the theatrics and the back and forth, there were some serious points being made by this man. But overall, one did get the impression that he didn't want to answer a lot of questions.
Okay, John, two quick things. The first one, of what value is Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, coming to talk at Chatham House? We all know that Chatham House is a very prestigious platform, yeah, but the voters are not in London. He's not seeking to be the Prime Minister of London, as somebody referred to him. He wants to be President of Nigeria. So what is the value of that engagement, considering that Nigeria does not even have diaspora voting? That's one. The second one is that, we were told that there was some drama outside the premises of Chatham House with his supporters and those who are opposed to him, staging their own melodrama outside the Chatham House. Did you take a look at that, and what's your take in that regard? Those two issues.
You make a great point. There are about 100,000 Nigerians in the UK at any one time. And so, as I understand it, they can't vote in the Nigerian presidential election unless they go to Nigeria and vote. There's no proxy voting from the UK, nor can they, as I understand it, directly fund his campaign. So why did he come to London? The opposition will say that he came up for one reason, was a health check. He was questioned about his health, and apparently he's in the best of health. So why did he come to Chatham House? Why doesn't he do these major speeches in Nigeria, is your question. And I think we've got the answer, because the coverage that he got has been quite incredible, especially on social media. I mean, he was given a platform effectively on the world stage rather than to a domestic audience, and here we are talking about his speech in London. So I think we're probably answering our own question here. Why did he come to London? Because he's got a lot of publicity, not only back home in Nigeria, but also in the UK, not through mainstream media here particularly, but on social media. So I think that's the answer. He goes on to the United States. We don't know who he's meeting there, and then he goes to Paris as well in the next few days, where I understand he has some business interests. So we'll hear a lot more from Mr. Tinubu in the coming days.
Yeah, but what about the crowd outside, the melodramatic, display outside the Chatham House?
There were some rumours that it was rent-a-crowd. They were paid to be there. I can't prove that either way. I mean, people there came from all over the country. I interviewed on air on Arise yesterday afternoon a guy, one of the organisers from Scotland, for example, which is a 300-mile journey from London. They did come from all over the country. I did, out of the corner of my eye, notice some opposition supporters with a placard saying "No to drug dealer," which is a reference to an investigation many years ago into Tinubu's activities in Chicago, all of which have always been denied. So there were a sprinkling, I saw out of the corner of my eye, of opposition supporters, but the vast majority of them were there on the surface to cheer for Tinubu.
All right. Thank you, John.